I have three words here that I want to talk about: identity, submission, and power. From the beginning, the devil, the enemy, has tried to steal our identity.
Come on.
He didn't want us to know who we are.
Come on, son. Come on.
So he comes in and, tries to distort what we believe. And, God has put us, God has put us at a certain place. But he wants us to believe that we are below where God has set us.
You better go ahead, Rob. This is good.
So he comes in and tries to distort the mind, and where he teaches us the opposite of obedience. The opposite of obedience is disobedience.
That's it, son.
He attempts to hide who we are from us and cause us to trust in things that are not like God.
Come on, man.
And I was just reminded of Pastor when you were talking about the prodigal son. He had, and also just from the beginning, the Garden of Eden. Adam and Eve. They were in a place. I'm thinking just like this prodigal son. He was in a place where everything was handed to him. Everything. He was in a beautiful place.
Yeah.
I would imagine being the son of a king.
Yeah.
The son of a king he doesn't have to go out there and toil in the field. He doesn't have to go, have to do hard work.
Come on.
He doesn't have to think about where his next meal is coming from.
Yeah.
So, and so it was as, with Adam and Eve. They could just pick from the trees, the fruit.
Go ahead.
God had already provided for them. But like that prodigal son, and I know that we all can relate to this, maybe we were taught the right thing. Maybe we even grew up in the church, Maybe we had a desire to do right, but somehow somebody or something started to whisper in our ears.
Go ahead.
And started to kind of change our mind and distort the way we think and the way we see things. So you have to guard your mind. Guard your mind so that the devil can't come in. The devil, because and that's going into the second part of submitting. On your own, we don't have, by ourselves, without God, we are powerless.
Yes.
But with God, all things are possible. And so when we made the decision to submit our lives to God, and when you submit something, you think about like a banking transaction, and you have that currency that you toiled for, that you worked for, and you're submitting and you handing it over. So just so that to hand something over, there has to be some level of trust. So when we trust in God, or when we see the evidence that He can do what, from that testimony, He can save us too. He can do what He did for them, for me. When we in trouble, then it seems like when we in trouble, that's when we really are trying to get to Him. Just, it's something about that cry, and that cry really comes out in us when we in trouble.
Desperation.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
And I was just, Peter, he had a cry in his spirit too.
Yeah.
He had a thorn in his flesh.
Paul.
Oh, thank you. Paul had a thorn in his flesh.
Yes.
And he cried out to the God. He cried out to God several times, to remove that thing from him. And God said, "My grace is sufficient."
Yes.
But see, 2 Corinthians, the 12th chapter and the 9th verse, it says, But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you,
Yes.
for my power is made perfect in weakness.
Come on.
Therefore I will boast all the more gladly of my weakness, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me.
Yes.
So when we submit ourselves to God, when we submit ourselves to God, and when we give ourselves totally to God,
Yes.
laying aside everything that is ungodly,
Yes.
then that power comes upon us. And it seems, just like if you think about it in the natural, when you submit yourself to, you submitting yourself, to me that's, the world sees it as a sign of weakness. But,
That's right.
God, when you submit yourself to the right thing, when you submit yourself to holiness,
Glory.
then your strength, because God is adding, He's adding that power to you.
Glory.
And I heard a preacher talk about exponential, in mathematics with the exponents.
Yeah.
Where we may be operating in, 7 times 7 is 49. We may be operating in that.
Uh-huh.
But when God, He adds, when you trusting in Him, He'll add that exponent. And
Yes.
when you add that exponent to it, it just magnifies the thing beyond human capability.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So God, He wants you to trust in Him. He wants you to trust in Him. He wants you to follow Him
Yes, God.
and to obey His voice.
Yes.
And then the power, when we realize, if we really, we think about, and we can kind of reflect what God has done in our individual lives, as well as looking at all the different testimonies in the Word, the power that God has is unimaginable. The same God who, allowed, I'm thinking about, how Moses, how he sent him to send the word to the king, the Pharaoh,
Yes.
to let his people go. And, just think about, in those times, you go to the king, the Pharaoh, then he may kill you.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
That's right.
but just think about the boldness
Yes,
that
yes.
God had to put on him in order to
Yes.
even give that message.
Teach, Rob.
Just to have the faith, after they had escaped, to walk up
Come on.
to the Red Sea,
Come on.
which is just as far as you can see,
Body of
a
water.
body of water
Woo!
that you think the Mississippi River is something. No, this is the Red Sea here.
Jesus.
Just stepping up to it, lifting up his staff and believing. He had to believe
Yes, to believe.
with all his might.
Yes. Yes.
And he couldn't let doubt come in and be able to infiltrate his mind and cause him to believe that what God said was not going to happen.
Come on.
Because you have to live by faith.
Yes.
It's faith that will bring you to the next level
Glory.
in God.
Yes.
What do you desire from the Lord?
This is good, son.
What do you see? What has God promised you? Reflect on His promises and believe.
Yes.
Believe beyond all kind of doubt. I mean, with everything in you, you have to believe. Throughout this whole word, God has been teaching us faith. He's been teaching us to trust Him. And you can't trust in what you don't believe in. If you don't believe that God is, and that He's a rewarder to them that diligently seek Him,
Thank you, God.
then you can't walk in His promises. Because without faith, it's impossible to please God.
Yes. Yes.
So if we all have a place that we want to be. God also has a plan for our lives. And when those two things meet up, because he said that he would give us the desires of our heart.
That's it.
But those desires also have to line up with his word and with his will.
Yes. Yes.
But I believe that God has given us a vision. God has given us, he's put something down in us.
Yes.
So he's given us a glimpse to where we can go.
Come on.
If we believe
Glory.
in him, if we are obedient, if we follow
Thank you, Jesus.
his instruction,
Yes. Yes.
if we submit to him and his word.
Yes.
See, we can't do things our way.
Yeah.
And our way, it seems right in our minds sometimes,
Come on,
but
preacher.
there's a way that seems right
Come
to
on.
a man, but the end thereof
Come on.
is death.
Is death. Come on.
It can seem all right. You've calculated it, but God, he sees on another level.
Yes.
When God, he looks at a thing, he's already seen the end. He's already seen the beginning. So he knows everything in between. So what better, God to follow? We will follow God. We will trust in him. We will obey him.
Yes, God. Yes,
So God gives us power, the power to overcome.
Yes.
He gives us the power of the Holy Spirit. He gives us the power of faith.
Yes.
Faith, that's power in that.
Yes.
Just when you're in a desperate situation and you're trying to find yourself out of it, you don't have to, if you just believe on God and if you seek him, then he's not going to let you down.
Glory.
And the power to get wealth.
Yes.
When we live this life, we need stuff. We need assets. We need money in order to live. So God has already made provisions for all of that as well. But see, sometimes he's just waiting on us. He's waiting on us. See, if he already fixed it, see, you might have a problem. You might have a problem. It might be a financial problem. But think back. What did God give you a word on some instructions to do?
Come on.
See, sometimes we don't follow instructions.
Come on.
We don't follow
on,
instructions,
preacher.
but we want to be blessed.
Jesus.
If God has commanded us to pay our tithes, if God has commanded us to live a holy life, to be obedient to his word, then,
Lord have mercy.
he's not going to just bless anything. He's just not going to bless us anyhow.
Wow.
God is looking for obedient servants to follow him.
Glory God.
And you look at the disciples that followed Jesus. A lot of them, they had their stuff together. They had stuff going on. They had different businesses or whatever.
Yes.
So what I'm trying to say is that make sure that you're staying on the right path. Make sure that you are listening. Open up your ears, open up your heart, and really submit yourself 100% to God.
Yes.
And he will just lay it out for you. He's gonna show you what to do. He's gonna show you where to go. He's gonna show you where not to go.
Yes. Yes.
There's, it says, Proverbs, the 3rd chapter and the 5th verse, it says, trust in the Lord with all thine heart.
All thine heart.
It didn't say some of your heart.
Come on.
You can't trust him sometimes, and then other times, I'm going to try to figure it out. It ain't no figuring it out.
Come on.
You can't figure out God.
Jesus.
Because God, the impossible, what's impossible to us is still possible with God.
That's it, preacher.
So when we trust in the Lord with all of our heart
All of them.
and lean not unto thine own understanding, we have a way that that seems right. In all thy ways acknowledge him.
Acknowledge him.
That's another step. We have to acknowledge him.
Yes.
So, once we trust in him, we believe, okay, God, you know best.
Wow.
with all thine heart. And we're not leaning to our own understanding. Well, I think it should go this way. I think it should go that way.